You know, here at Centers for Spiritual Living, we have 7 core values that we use to guide what we do and how we practice. Those 7 core values are love, healing, oneness, abundance, spiritual growth, service, and diversity. And today we're focusing on service. And you know, one of the wonderful things about having a spiritual community is that your spiritual community is here to serve you. Here to serve you in wonderful times and in challenging times. And for those of us in our community, many of us had a very challenging time yesterday with the tragedy that happened at the Pride Parade in Wilton Manors. And so in order to be of service to all of you, Dr. Chris, myself, the practitioners, will be in the community room after service. If you need some compassion, if you need to talk, if you need some healing, some loving, if you need just to process your experience with other people, please make sure to join us after service for that. You know, the thing about service is that it can always be an answer. Whether we find ourselves in an experience of joy, taking that in service, bringing that service to others, sharing that joy with others can have such a positive impact. And if our service is being in compassion and sitting with those who need a little extra love, the impact of that is beyond measure. So for whatever way you serve, whether it's serving in this community, serving by holding the door for somebody with a smile, or serving by joining us in a space of healing and compassion after service, I honor you and all the service you give to this community and to all of humanity. Thank you for being who you are and for serving with us here at CSL. Namaste.
You can always tell when a person has reached a certain level of maturity in their spiritual growth. There are actually 2 characteristics of the truly enlightened. First is a growing sense of compassion. Spiritual masters are compassionate. They're quick to forgive, and they're easy to let go of resentments. And that's because they know that we're all doing the very best that we can, given the wisdom we have. So they don't expect you to be perfect because they understand the challenges of being a perfect spiritual being living out in an imperfect world, in an imperfect human experience. We are a hodgepodge of contradictions, you and I, part holy, part sacred, part divine, part absolutely clear and pure, and another part just farm animal. You know, you think about these human bodies, we are capable of beautiful wisdom and loving acts, and we also fart and pee and poop. So, that is the first sign of enlightenment: understanding, acceptance, and compassion, a willingness to accept people as they are, part divine and part human. And then secondly, spiritually mature people are always about service. They live in service to others and to the greater good. They're the ones who always ask, what can I do to help? How can I support you? They have moved beyond the question of what am I going to get out of this? They've grown enough spiritually to know that by serving others, they actually serve God. And so they practice one of the fundamental truths in life, that by helping others to succeed in life, you actually find your own way to success. Now, there's a little known fact about us in the animal kingdom, us humans and other primates. Did you know that primates take the longest period to mature into independent adults? Primates stay longer with their parents than any other species on this planet, and you probably know that if you've got a 30-year-old still living at home. I was out on my own at 17 years old. 17 years old, I had my own apartment. This was way back in the day when mothers smoked all through pregnancy like my mother did, when there were no seat belts in cars and the 2-martini lunch seemed absolutely acceptable and normal. God, I miss those days. Nowadays, nobody ever seems to leave home. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I guess it can be good as long as you continue to grow and mature on your own, as long as you're becoming more independent and self-reliant. But in the case of helicopter parents, the ones who hover over their grown children, giving their opinion on every detail of their adult lives, that's not a good thing. Because their children don't learn to stand on their own when that happens or trust their own instincts. And that's not healthy. That's enabling them and ultimately doesn't serve them at all because it stunts their growth. Family. What a weird dynamic. Who thought of this idea of throwing people together who very often have nothing more in common than their own shared DNA? What diabolical plan is that? Is this some trick of nature to strap us side by side with people who otherwise we would never have chosen to have in our lives? I have a friend who has a brother who's very close to, and they talk to each other every Sunday morning, 20 years, hours and hours, close. And one day his brother asked him, "Hey, if you weren't my brother, would you be my friend? Would we be friends?" And my friend said, "Oh, hail to the no. Brother, I love you. You are my brother, but there is no way if we weren't related that you would be in my life and be friends." Now, what my friend lacked in diplomacy, he made up in truth and honesty. He was telling the truth. And so now I ask you about your own family and your own family members for a minute. If you're sitting next to your family members in the church today, or if they're watching with you at home, do not answer this question out loud. Do not. If nature hadn't designed some diabolical plan, some way to get these people into your life, would you have chosen to have them there? All of them? Maybe you would. Maybe you would. Maybe you come from one of those families where people have a shared respect for each other and an awareness of another fundamental truth, the one that took me a long time to learn. The one that says understanding is not a prerequisite to love. I love a lot of people I don't understand at all. My father was one of those people. He passed away a couple years ago at 89 years of age. And he had a different religion than I do. And he certainly had different political views than I do. In the last election, I would call him up and kid him, and I said, "You know what, Dad? If you're not feeling well today, I got this. I'll go to the polls and vote for you. Don't worry, I got this. You don't even have to go vote. I'm going to do it for you." And he would just laugh and say, "No, son, I think I'll be able to make it myself this year." I never understood my whole life how he could believe what he believed. I certainly never understood how he could have voted the way he voted. But you see, understanding is not a prerequisite to love. And so I loved him anyway. And maybe that's what it's all about. Maybe it's not about the Norman Rockwell painting of the perfect family. Maybe the plan is to put us with people who don't get us, and maybe we don't get, to throw us all together in some common circumstance and story so that we can learn to respect our differences and help define each other's character and love each other in spite of all the reasons we have not to love. Here's another truth, one I've never shared with you before. I want you to think about this week and how it applies to life in general. Here it is. Listen up. Everything that exists in the physical realm, in the physical world, is a mere fraction of something that exists already and even pre-exists in the spiritual realm. And sometimes the things that are in the physical world are just a cheap facsimile. For instance, the idea of home. In the physical realm, home is a structure. It's a place of shelter for your body. It's a house. And it may be filled with people that you love and relate to, or it may not be. And when you go home, you might find peace and calm there, or you may not. Maybe instead of being welcomed home each night by people who love and respect you, you're greeted at the door with anger, upset, and drama. Maybe instead of the sanctuary that it's supposed to be to provide you from a world of hardships, a safe place for you to regroup and gather your strength, your home is filled with people who don't support you at all. But in the spiritual realm, home, your home in heaven, if you want to call it that, is a place of peace. A place where you are loved and accepted unconditionally. Your spiritual home is sanctuary. It's a place of comfort, a safe place where no harm can ever befall you, a place where no harsh words are ever spoken and kindness is shown to all. Your true home is with spirit, and your house address on earth is just a facsimile of that. And so you see, in our hearts, we know what home is supposed to be like. We know it's supposed to be a place of love and laughter because our soul remembers where we come from. But our human attempts to recreate this in the physical world don't always match what in our hearts we know they should be. Sometimes homes get broken, and people stop loving each other, and children get hurt. And the outer picture of home doesn't match what's inside our hearts and what we know it's supposed to be. People get divorced, families break up, and our failed attempts to create that safe, loving home that lives in our hearts with each other here on earth frustrates us. And so we try again, and again, and again. You know, I come from a family that believes in marriage. And that's why we do it all the time, over and over again. My mother was married 5 times before she was 40 years old. Figure that out. And her mother was married at least twice that we know of. She was Irish, and she liked to party, so she might have had a side piece that we don't even know about. I come from a colorful family, a long line of eccentric people. Go figure, right? So we try, and sometimes in vain, to recreate in the physical world that which exists in the spiritual world. So our idea of a house on earth doesn't always match our true home in spirit. And this truth same applies to family. If your family of origin are people who know how to accept you and love you as you are, even if they don't fully understand you, if they can love you anyway, then they are your true family. You are bound by spirit, not just biology. And if the people you share DNA with, you also share consciousness with, if they share the same values and character, that is wonderful and more rare than you can imagine. But sometimes the biology we share with our family members is just about the only thing we have in common. And if you're like me and you come from one of those families that didn't get you, just didn't get you, by now you have grown accustomed to the questions that those people asked. Questions like, why aren't you more like your brother? Why can't you just be satisfied with what you've got? Why do you have to ask so many questions? Here are the answers to those parents who ask those things. I can't be like my brother because I'm not him. God has made me as a unique, independent individual. I will never be satisfied with the status quo because I believe in the abundant nature of life and the givingness of love to its creation, and so more will always be available. And I ask a lot of questions because I don't want to get too comfortable with what everyone else accepts as true. I have to find my own road to truth. If your family of origin matches you in consciousness and character, then care for them. Find ways to encourage and support your brother, your sister, your parents, your cousins. Love them, even though you may never understand them. Give them every chance to be forgiven, and take every opportunity to share joy and laughter together, because life is short. But if your biological family does not match you in consciousness and character, if instead of loving you, they abuse you, if instead of supporting you, they reject you, then please do yourself a favor. Get the hell away from them. Love them from afar. A real far. Like far, far. As far away as you need to get to be able to turn back and see those people as you see yourself, as another opportunity for God to express its love. Find a spiritual family, one like CSL, where people will love you unconditionally and accept you as you are. A family that will work hard for you to realize the dreams you have for your life. Stop trying to force your biological family to be your spiritual family. Let them be where they are. If they can love you for who you are, great. And if they can't, love yourself enough to get away from them and start your own family, one that is more in alignment with your consciousness. And when you find that family, and I hope you've chosen CSL as your spiritual family, then give them all your heart and soul. Find ways to serve that family. The truth is, you are here to manifest the glory of God, to bring heaven to earth, to bring what is known in your spiritual life into manifest form, to realize and recreate in this physical world what you know in your heart is true. And this is why the enlightened ones always operate with so much compassion and do so much to serve others and humanity, because they know it's the soul's only true purpose and the only work worth doing on this planet, the lifting up of human consciousness, the creation of one family on one planet, established in love. And so ends the lesson. In every relationship, physical or metaphysical, there is a time to speak and a time to listen. Health is maintained in relationships by doing both. You have a relationship with your Creator. It is constantly guiding you with invisible hands toward that which serves the greater good for your life. It will guide you if you listen. It will guide you if you stop talking long enough to hear the gentle, sweet voice of Spirit. Let's do that together now.
Spirit
As we move into this world seeking our good, the ego says, go get it. Make it work. Man up. Strategize it. Create a plan. The ego drives you out into life. But Spirit guides from within. It says, wait, listen, before you go, I'll tell you where to go. I'll tell you how to get there. I'll show you where your good resides. I'll make it easy. Stop. Listen. We have never been abandoned by our Creator. God is not an external deity. It's an indwelling presence. The presence of love in our hearts and joy. And if we stop and we listen, it will guide us directly to the highest possible good we can imagine for ourselves and for all those we love. So let's stop and listen now. For every soul that has been born into this world, a new light, a new opportunity for good, a new experience for genius and compassion and love and joy. And that's what Maverick brings to us today. God's decision that life continues. The promise of a new day where we lift people up, not put them down. Let's be part of His world and experience. Be part of His assignment today to bring to the world a greater good so that we can all be blessed where we belong. And so it is.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in the stillness I find. Spirit meets me there, Spirit meets me there.
So, we close our service with our closing affirmation and prayer. And if you're like me, you've got one of these. And if you're not, just look at the screen and say it with me aloud. Are you ready? I honor and celebrate the divine masculine in everyone. Let's know this together. We come from love. A love that has no gender, but expresses and experiences itself in every gender. A pureness and a perfection that is making its way into the roles we play in human life. Father, mother, sister, brother, cousin, aunt, uncle. The roles we play are our opportunity to experience and express God's love through us in the unique pattern that it has established itself as us. Let's give our love completely. Let's withhold our judgment because we have no right to judge. Let's give our attention to the good in the world and multiply it exponentially. Let's see every child as a pure and perfect expression of God, and let's see every adult as the same thing. We are here together as souls on a planet to experience the uplifting of consciousness, to more greatly share the love of God. Let's let that be so today in gratitude. And so it is. We'll see you again next time here at CSL, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and also on Facebook live stream. Have a great week.
Thank you for watching, and thanks for supporting CSL. If you'd like to know more about us, check us out on our website or social media. Blessings.